Miss Hussey! When she returned the next day, her sixth grade class crowded around her, giving her hugs and stepping on her sneakers. How was Jell? Were you really scared? How come you didn't tell us that was your letter? We were so worried about you. The questions poured out, but she couldn't talk about either the arrest or the letter. She looked happy to be back, but nervous. Every time someone dropped a book or bumped into a desk, she jumped. She glanced into the hallway a number of times, as if afraid that the policeman on duty might have left. She took down all of the Vermeer posters and all of the newspaper clippings. The classroom looked bare and dismal. She asked the class what they wanted to study, but when they suggested ideas, she didn't seem to be listening. Petra thought about bringing up Charlie Fort's research, but could tell it wasn't the right moment. The day after Miss Hussey came back, Petra left science class and went to her homeroom to get a book she'd forgotten. She found Miss Hussey standing alone, her back to the door, talking on a cell phone. Petra took 2 steps into the room and froze. She overheard, "Mistake. But why? It is here? But I can't do that." And then her teacher began to weep. Not wanting her to know that she heard, Petra crept out. Petra felt suddenly outraged for Miss Hussey. She was a wonderful person. Who or what was hurting her, and were Mrs. Sharp and Miss Hussey really so protected now? Petra didn't think so. Something was very wrong with Miss Hussey. "Come on, Calder," Petra said when school ended. "Let's go someplace we don't usually go, someplace on the campus. How about Fargo Hall? I've got money for hot chocolate." Petra's hat was pulled down almost to her eyebrows, and her hair fanned out in a black halo around the bottom. She was walking a couple of steps ahead of Calder. "You remember what Mrs. Sharp said about people not looking carefully enough at what is around them?" "Of course," Calder said. "I think we should be careful, that's all." "What's the matter? Something happened?" Calder was looking at her curiously. "I'll tell you when we get there." They plodded quietly through the dim afternoon light, heading 2 blocks north on University Avenue. Fargo Hall, close to a century old, had stone gargoyles and carved human heads on every turret and ledge. A tangle of leafless ivy clutched at the limestone walls. As they pulled open the heavy doors on 57th Street, there was a comforting blast of heat and student messiness. Petra bought 2 hot chocolates with whipped cream, and they headed through French doors into what looked like a giant living room. There was a there was a fire in the fireplace, and students were scattered around in armchairs talking quietly or reading. They sat down on huge leather chairs in a corner. "Here's what I'm thinking," Petra began. "You and I know some things other people don't. They're all the coincidences that have led us along. The possible storage places in Mrs. Sharp's house, and my feeling that the painting might be hidden behind dark wood." "Right," Calder nodded toward the walls in the room they were sitting in. "It's everywhere." "I think we need to go into high gear and start actively hunting," Petra told Calder about overhearing Miss Hussey's conversation. Here's a picture of the hall. "I have a feeling that she may be in real danger. We may not have much time." Calder put down his cup and started running his fingers excitedly through his patomanos. "Shh," Petra said, aware of someone glaring at them. Someone in a dark armchair across the room. Calder pulled out one of the pieces. "It's the U. U for understand." "No, that's not right. It's U for under. Under. Maybe the painting is hidden beneath something." "What else do we have to go on?" Petra asked. "Well, what you heard today." "It is here," Petra repeated Miss Hussey's words. "Here," said Calder. "Imagine that Miss Hussey, being adventuresome and wanting to do the right thing for art, did help the thief. Or how about this? Imagine that she and Mrs. Sharp are working together. They do know each other. Imagine Miss Hussey hid the painting and Mrs. Sharp knows where it is. Imagine they picked a spot they both knew. What would be a logical place? Maybe it's also you for the university school. What a brilliant place to hide something around hundreds of kids. Calder was jabbing the U Potamino into the arm of his chair for emphasis. Great, and imagine that we found the painting and no one ever had to know that Miss Hussey was involved. Except you and me, and we'd never tell. We'd be rescuing all three of them. The lady, Miss Hussey, and Mrs. Sharp. How about the third person, the person who got letter number 3? Petra glanced over to see that the armchair in the corner was empty. The dark horse, the difficult piece in any puzzle that doesn't seem to be there at all until you need it. Calder popped the U back into his pocket. Both tried not to get too excited. Charles Fort, as Calder reminded Petra on the way home, collected 294 showers of living things without knowing why.